13 Questions by Mantranscending. Manhood in the Digital Age.
This week on the 13 Questions podcast, we've got former UFC heavyweight champ and UFC Hall of Famer, Pat Miletich. All-around great guy, too. I mean, from what I've seen. I've only talked to him a few times, but every time he's been great, insightful conversations. And actually, Pat was one of the few people that I don't think really, he said he did, but I don't really think he did actually pre-read the questions. I think he just kind of glanced at them quick. So it's probably one of our more from the hip interviews. But that being said, his answers are great. Great from the hip answers, very insightful, very authentic. And I mean, we've been blessed so far that we haven't had anyone really give us any horseshit answers, and hopefully that trend continues, because that's kind of the point. And we don't get to really, get that wisdom properly passed down if we're just trying to put on a facade. And I suppose when you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you don't really have to put on a facade anyway. But I think you'll find Pat's story quite compelling, and his reasons and his answers. His answers are great. Of course, you're going to get through the 13. We're going to go to the bonus area there, the extra content, and it's going to fade out, and you're going to miss out, and you're going to be like, shit. So, this is already up to episode 7. If you haven't signed up yet, you better sign up soon, because we're going to keep pumping these out 2 a week. So it's probably worth becoming a member and get those 8 extensions a month, plus some extra podcasts, because we're sitting on a bunch of interviews already, so it's already looking inevitable that we're going to end up dumping some extra interviews into the member-only section, so that we don't have to put intros on them, and we could just put them in there, give them to the members. And so, it's worth signing up just for those 8 extra extensions a month. Plus, you're going to get TJ Walker's communication courses, for men especially. Communication's a big problem, not just between husband and wife, or parent and child, or podcast co-hosts, or co-workers, or anything like that. Anytime you try and get a team together, the more I notice it, the more, I guess it's as you become aware of it, because I wouldn't have put my finger on it, say, 2 years ago. Yeah. I would have just said other people are idiots. Yeah. But, communication is a huge problem. I see it at work. I see it in every little group I put together in our podcast life, whether it's Grimerica or 13 Questions or Mantranscending. There's all these little groups going on, and I see these communication breakdowns all over the place. Yeah. And, at home, same thing. So, the communication courses itself, there's a few $100s of value. There's probably 2 years subscription of value just in the communication courses. Plus, you get the podcast extensions, plus the bonus podcast. You're going to get access to a members-only Discord that everybody there is a member, a paying member. So, you're not going to get a lot of trolls. Usually people don't want to pay $8 a month to go be a troll, or $7 a month to go be a troll. And you get the members-only forums, so that's kind of a place where the members can go answer the questions or post their own topics or do whatever they like there. You can kind of post some people you'd like to have on the show. You get emailed out the journaling prompts. You don't have to. Of course, you have to sign up for that. You don't need to get them if you don't want them. There's a place to pop in your email if you do want them. I don't know what addiction chat means.
Oh, I just put, we're talking about,
we'll make a part of that in the Discord.
Talk about, addictions and alcoholism and stuff like that.
We'll have an addiction section of the thing for sure. Yeah. That'll definitely become a focus. I'm sure in the community, that's the kind of thing, as a community is going to become valuable in its own sense. As people start signing up, we offer anyone who comes on the show so far has been sent out the thing. So I think we're going to try and get Dr. Mike and a couple other people actually in the Discord as members of the community, and, popping in from time to time and sharing some wisdom in real time. And I mean, we've all got a little bit of wisdom in us, and that includes you. You have a little bit of wisdom in you. So when you sign up and you're part of the community, you might not think it, but one day someone's going to be looking for an answer. Yeah. You're going to have it. Yeah. And of course, you get the chance to go interview your grandpa or your dad and ask them the 13 questions. Do the whole bonus section, do the whole rundown if you want. Send it in to us. And if you're a member, we're going to put that on the internet for you forever. And, your buddies or your granddads. I mean, you get to try your own interviewing, do your own podcasting without actually having to do all the work. And you get to immortalize somebody close to you with their wisdom. And even if you want to change up a question or two, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's probably the coolest thing about this is just giving this to people that want to be a part of this. They can do this on their own. They can get somebody to interview themselves, or they can interview the people that have made a big difference in their life and have that in the feed for all the members. That's
right. On the internet forever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, it's almost a better idea than I don't know. How else do you immortalize someone? Buy them a tree.
Yeah.
Plant a tree. Trees me your bench. Yeah.
Yeah, bench.
Not a podcast.
Bench.
Sounds way cool. It's 21st century.
Name on the wall kind of thing,
That's how we do it over in the other place. Anyway, Pat Miletich, what's this guy all about?
Yeah, he's a retired American mixed martial artist and a current sports commentator. He's also known for his fights in the UFC, of course, where he became the first welterweight champion and UFC 16 welterweight tournament winner. He's also known as a highly successful trainer and coach, and he's founded Miletich Fighting Systems, and this camp is considered one of the most successful in MMA history and has produced several world champions. He's a great open-minded guy. He's also been co-host of The Conspiracy Farm for a while, which is a podcast about some of the similar stuff that we discuss on our other podcasts. And yeah, he's really out there for service and helping people, and he's very focused on making sure that he's the best Pat that he can be.
Isn't that what it's all about? Being the best you that you can be.
Yeah, he's really all about that.
So you guys, why don't you guys sit back and listen to some of Pat's answers and see how they help you on your journey of being the best that you can be. Then when you're done, go over to 13questionspodcast.com. Sign up for a membership today. Join the community. Lend your voice to the community. And help the cause and get all the extensions. Okay, welcome back to the 13 Questions podcast interview. Here we are tonight. We've got ex-UFC heavyweight champion, I believe, and of course, UFC Hall of Famer, Pat Miletich. I think people are going to be super stoked for this one. I know we've had a few people that we've been, of course, the show isn't going to launch for 2 weeks, but the few people that we have been doing some testing for us and some screening and letting us know how they like the episodes have been, we've had a few people already bring up that we should get Pat on the show. So we're looking forward to this. So welcome to 13 Questions, Pat.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we don't do a lot of dilly-dallying here. We'll jump right into it. Of course, we did send you the questions ahead of time, so you had a chance to peruse them. We wouldn't try and dump these sorts of questions on someone on the fly. So we'll jump right into question one. What was the best advice ever given to you, and would you modify it at all today?
To be honest with you, it was very simple. It was given to me by my grandfather. And he said, I was real young, actually. And he said, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, means you can listen twice as good as you can talk. So I probably would modify it by using my mouth less. Let's put it that way.
Even less, yeah.
But, yeah, I get in trouble sometimes when I use my mouth. So he was right. I can tell you that.
Right on. Next question. What was the most important lesson you learned from your parents? Directly or indirectly?
I would say the most important lesson I learned from my parents was from my mom. My mother raised me from the time I was 8. And the lesson I learned from her was that she just simply never gave up. She was a fighter in every way, shape, or form. And she just never showed any weakness. I don't think I maybe saw her cry. Just when my 2 older brothers had passed away, it was one of the few times that I ever saw her cry. And I can tell you that she definitely was a unique individual.
Wow. Thanks for that answer. We'll go into question 3. What book has been most influential on your life and why?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I could say, a lot of books, of course, because everybody's read a lot of good books, but probably the first nonfiction book that I ever read, I was in middle school. I think I was 7th or 8th grade. And I was sick of reading the same book that all the other kids in school had to read in class, right? And they were always fiction. It was made up. And I hated it because somebody made it up. It never happened, right? So I went to my teacher. I found a book on a bookshelf at home, and I looked at it, and it was Sir Edmund Hillary's account of ascending Mount Everest with Tenzing Norgay, his Sherpa. And I started kind of going through the pages and reading a little bit here and there, and I went, "This is fascinating. This is the account of the first time anybody ever went to the top of Mount Everest." So I took that to school, and I told my English teacher, I said, "I'm not reading, the assigned book because it is fiction. I refuse to read fiction. And so I'm going to read this book, and I'll give you a book report on it." And she said, "All right, if that's the way it's going to be." Because I wasn't reading. I wasn't going to read it if it was fiction. I wasn't doing it. And so she allowed me to do it. I gave her a book report, and I haven't read a fictional book since 7th grade.
I was going to ask actually if that was a habit that you still carried forward today.
It's impossible. I don't know what it is. I've had people give me a ton of books that were fiction, and I just fucking throw them on the fire. They're useless.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I don't know. And I'm actually writing a fictional book right now. That's a crazy thing.
Interesting. So does that carry across to
It's a book that combines the history of central banking in the United States and the Western. Well, of course, you guys are covered by the same banks, technically, but it takes the history of central banking in the United States, time travel, and special forces operators, and combines it all.
Wow. So is that something you like? Do you watch a lot of fiction movies, or is it strictly books, or you just don't have a lot of time for fantasy in general?
I don't watch movies a whole lot. I love documentaries. So, I guess you could say, I don't watch a whole lot of fiction either.
Did you see the new Blue Planet 2 came out?
I did not.
For me, for some reason, Planet Earth and Blue Planet and those old BBC docs, I just love them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into nature. I love wildlife. I mean, I'm the kind of person that could, kill a bad human being before I could kill an animal, to be honest with you. I'm that kind of person. So, yeah, I get it.
Next question. What daily habits or rituals do you have, and do you recommend them for others?
Get up when your alarm goes off. That's first and foremost. I try to get up at 4:00 every morning, unless I'm sicker than a dog. So, that's first and foremost. And then also to, try your best to get, I don't care if it's a shitty workout, at least get a workout in, it helps your mind, the body and the mind working together, definitely a strong body helps with the mind. So, it's important. Even when I've had some pretty bad injuries, I'd get up and do something. I'd tear ligaments in my knee. I'd do what I had to do with my upper body. I'd injure something, destroy a shoulder. I'd do a power hike at 15 incline on a treadmill, whatever, try and do something through injuries and because a lot of people, man, you end up in the dumps. You see a lot of people go downhill real quick from an injury. It's, you hear the stories of somebody who's obese many times. It's like, yeah, I injured my knee and I never got going again. And that was the end. Right. So that's it, man. Get up early, get a workout in and set your day right.
I think how many people don't even bother to work out at all?
Well, to each their own, but but I can tell you it would make their life a lot better. You know what I mean? It really would.
Next question. If I was to ask your best friend, what is the one thing they would say you need to work on the most and why?
Wow. That's interesting. Probably being more patient with others would probably be it. Say it's something that we're working on as a project, whether it's a business, this, that. Sometimes I lose my patience with people who aren't getting their part done quick enough. Put it that way.
Great answer. Next question.
I don't scream at people, but I let them know I'm not happy.
It's not good when the UFC champ is letting you know he's not happy, I don't think.
Hey, man, I just want the team to be successful, right?
That's right. Next question. What are you most curious about?
Well, I guess it's kind of a tie between, life off of this planet. I've always been very curious about that. I think probably everybody is, or a good number of people. And then the afterlife. What happens? Where do we go? There's an EKG tells us that there's electricity in our body, at very least, even for those that don't believe in the human spirit. But that electricity, that energy goes somewhere. Where does it go? When that EKG doesn't pick anything up anymore, there's no electricity in our body anymore. Well, that energy, it transfers somewhere. It moves to somewhere. So I'm just curious where it goes.
What was the most embarrassing experience of your life?
I would say the most embarrassing moment of my life, and probably the most transformative, was when a bully in school, it was after wrestling practice, and I was horrible at wrestling when I was younger. After wrestling practice, everybody was, I think, taking showers, and I was scrubbing my head, had shampoo in my hair, so my eyes were closed, and he actually snapped me in the balls with a wet towel. And it dropped me on the shower floor, and all the other kids on the team were laughing at me. And I remember laying there in pain and looking up at the bully who'd been picking on me for years. And I said, "This is the last time he's ever going to pick on me. This is the last time anybody picks on me ever again." So I got the principal to allow me during lunch period. I'd bring my own lunch to school from then on, and I'd go to the weight room and I'd eat my lunch and I'd lift weights every lunch. And then I took it a bit too far, and I wish I wouldn't have done this to him. But from that time forward, through middle school and high school, I made sure to know what position he was going out for on the football team and what weight he was going to wrestle at in wrestling. And I made sure I was at the same weight and going for the same position in football to make sure he was second string the rest of his life.
Oh, we should have him on the show.
Well, I don't know if he knows, but maybe he's got an inkling as to what was going down after a few years, right?
At least subconsciously.
Yeah.
What is your greatest fear, and how do you overcome it?
My greatest fear, without a doubt, is heights. I don't know how many thousands of dreams I'd have when I was younger that I could fly. So I'd be flying around in my dream, and then all of a sudden I couldn't fly, and I would start falling to earth. Every time I'd wake up screaming. And so I've just been terrified of heights for some reason. I have no idea why I always dreamt that stuff. But I can't get near a window in a hotel that's more than probably 5-6 floors up. I certainly can't get near the edge of a building. I actually rappelled off a 38-story building probably 5 years ago to try and get over it. It didn't work. I was terrified the whole way down. I was sweating my ass off. And so then just this past year, I was out east training some special forces guys. I won't say what group, just I keep that hush hush. But they said, "You're jumping out of the plane with us tomorrow." I said, fuck I am. And so they said, no, really, you're gonna jump out of the plane with us tomorrow. So I said, hell with it. I can't tell these guys no. So I went up and jumped out of the plane, and I want to go back now. I'm hooked.
We did that a couple of years ago, and we got hooked as well. It's I don't know what there is about that rush about flying out the door of that plane, but
well, the funny thing is my friend who runs one of the teams said, dude, it's not a big deal. You're going to feel like you're flying. And so two of the guys that went out the door before me, they jumped one by one. And I watched them fall out of that plane straight toward Earth faster than I could have imagined. And I looked at it and I said, that's not flying, that's falling. Right. So, and the thing that was cool about it was there were a lot of cumulus clouds building. And so as we fell, it gave you a reference of how fast you were falling. And then once the canopy was open, being able to cloud surf was a pretty amazing feeling. It really was. And how many times have you gone?
We only went once. Did that cure your fear of heights, or?
I don't know if it's cured my fear of heights, but I'm not afraid to jump out of a plane anymore. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some nervousness about it, right? Even the guys that, from what I've talked to, or special forces guys who've got 10,000 jumps, they're a little nervous every time they do it. So I need that adrenaline, I think. I got addicted to adrenaline, fighting and competing in sports and doing other stuff. And so I guess I just need it, right?
What quality do you most admire in a man, and why?
Usually it comes down to guys that I think do what they say they're going to do, and guys that raise their kids the right way. You know what I mean? That's very admirable, because there's a lot of people out there that don't do that these days. And I think it's something, it's a responsibility. Once you bring a kid into a life into the world, you better do your best to raise them the right way. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably something that I admire the most.
Who were or are your role models, and why?
Dan Gable, who was the Olympic 1972 Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, considered for many, many years the greatest wrestler ever to walk the planet. The Russians couldn't get him beat. They tried to figure out to get somebody to beat him. They couldn't beat him. And my mom definitely. So Dan Gable, I've been lucky enough. I've had him actually on one of my radio shows. And I spent time up in the Iowa wrestling room during the summers, wrestling periodically with the Iowa wrestling and the international wrestlers and stuff when I was training for fights, and just being around the guy and talking to him and stuff. And I got inducted into the Dan Gable National Wrestling Hall of Fame a few years back. And that was probably, for me, my biggest honor, to be able to sit at a table all night and have dinner with Dan Gable and talk to him. That was pretty neat. Really, really unique guy. I mean, he's won more national titles as a coach and Big Ten championships as a coach than certainly anybody else in any other sport.
Does it ever, do you ever wonder about or do you ever consider how many fans are looking up to you in sort of that same light today? Is that like a burden for someone in your position, or how do you walk with that?
No, I mean, at the time when I started, I certainly tried my best to emulate Gable's work ethic. I mean, that was a guy that everywhere he went, when he was in college at Iowa State University, he would wear ankle weights. He would run to every class, even in the winter, stuff like that. The guy was, even after he won the Olympic gold medalist, Russ Hellickson, who was on the Olympic team also, Russ, I believe, won a gold medal that year. Russ Hellickson said, he goes, we just got done winning medals in the Olympics. He goes, I wake up in the morning and he's like, I'm going to take a couple weeks off, man. This is awesome. He goes, I was thinking about having a beer or something, and he goes, I open the shades on the window and we're in Munich, Germany, and there's Gable out running down the road. He's out training the next morning, you know? So his work ethic was something that carried over for me. I read every book, watched every documentary on him, and that was something. But for me, fighting and coaching and all that stuff, you know, to be honest with you, when I look back on it at the time, I was very a hard driving person. If people could not survive in the room, they didn't belong in the sport. That's just the way it was. And, you know, I was just trying to pay my bills and be successful, to be honest with you. So, you know, if it resulted in people using that as motivation in their life for work ethic and everything else, I think that that's awesome. I really do, you know. But I was going through life with blinders on. Literally nothing else mattered at that time in my life than winning a world title and making sure that I created world champions and stuff. So that was it. I mean, that's all that existed.
Here's a big one. What institution of society or structural aspect of modern life would you change given the chance?
Well, of course, you can probably guess it would be the Federal Reserve and everything else that followed in terms of the globalist structure, the UN and Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission. They'd all fall like dominoes without the global central bank. So, or the Federal Reserve being the apparatus in our country that controls our monetary system. I would abolish the Federal Reserve if I had the power immediately.
Next question. That's a great answer, by the way. I agree. Number 12. What is the most courageous thing you have ever done in your life or seen?
Wow, dude. I've seen certainly a lot of courageous things happen. And gosh, you know, people showing a lot of heart in the cage and things like that. But boy, most courageous thing I've ever done or seen. I mean, I've seen people save people's lives with, you know, CPR, things like that. Gosh, I mean, the most courageous thing I've ever done is just, I guess, do my best to not be an asshole and raise my kids, right?
Takes more than people without kids would realize.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I'm blessed. I've got 3 daughters, 16, 14, and 5. We tried for a boy, and I got another girl. So it's just God's way of kicking me right square in the nuts and saying, there you go. But no, at 6 a.m. here in the house when it's 3 girls getting ready for school, buddy, I tell you what, it takes courage to sit there. It takes courage to survive it. How's that?
Mine are still too young. I'll get a glimpse of that soon.
Yeah. And it's a fun ride, man. It's a fun ride. It definitely puts gray hairs on your head.
And your beard.
Yeah.
What rule do you have for yourself that you never break, and why do you think that it's important?
Boy, I mean, I've got a lot of rules, I guess, for myself. Gosh. Man. I mean, the common sense ones, I guess, but I've never really thought. I didn't really think about that question, to be honest with you. It's an interesting one. Never set out to do anything wrong. Let's put it that way. How's that?
Good one. And the last question of the free part of the show is: what does it mean to you to be a man in today's world?
Own your mistakes, man. A lot of people dumping on other people. A lot of people blaming others for their mistakes. Ownership, complete and total ownership of your shortcomings and your mistakes in life. I think that more than anything has to be something that people need to pay attention to. You know, a guy that trains a bunch of salesmen and the salesmen don't do a good job, well, go look at yourself and ask yourself if you're a shitty trainer, right?
Absolutely.
Just something that simple.
We definitely use more accountability in the world today.
Yes.
Well, Pat, thanks for answering our 13 questions. Thanks to the audience for tuning in. I'm sure they love the answers. Of course, if you guys want to get the bonus questions and the rundown we do in the extension of the show and get the journaling exercises we email out, and you get access to some courses and a Discord and all that fun stuff, head over to 13questionspodcast.com today, Division of Mantranscending, and sign up for as a member, and you'll get access to all that stuff as well as all the bonus questions, which happen to be the best ones. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
And now into the bonus questions. Thanks you to our members for making all of this possible. And we'll jump right into bonus question number 1 with Pat Miletich. What would you tell your teenage self?
What would I tell my teenage self would be, boy, and I thought I did think about this one,
I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, what? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo,
Why
what?
is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why? I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo,
Why is
why?
there innocent people locked up for life? While some people can't say nothing nice. Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why?
I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii.
Why?
I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why? I don't want no Hawaii. I don't want no Hawaii. Yo, why?
This should be considered entertainment and not therapy. We hope you benefit from our resources available at 13questionspodcast.com. Thank you for listening.